The 9th Annual Legislative Policy Conference held in Washington, D.C. was a great success. Hundreds of Urban League members converged in Washington for days of intense training, direct access to representatives, and to support the Urban League's State of Black America, with this year's focus on voting in the urban community under the banner Occupy the Vote. Young professionals had an intimate meeting with Representative Eddie Bernice Johnson. Representative Johnson described her struggles as a minority in government and expressed a need for patience when pushing for change in Washington. She also spoke on the importance of increasing STEM aptitude within the urban community. The Legislative Policy Conference provides a variety of training to better equip the Urban League membership.
I think it was a great exercise because it allowed us to get an opportunity to get familiar with the bill for those of us who weren't, and also allowed us opportunity to get familiar with ourselves in terms of reciprocating that information. Sometimes these interviews can be a little strenuous, a little intimidating, but it allows us to get familiar with ourselves and to actually get some good quality responses back.
We are here because, like the Congressional Black Caucus, we must be the conscience of the nation. That as we honor these members of Congress, as we enjoy ourselves and have a good time, that the Urban League is here for business. And we have to occupy the vote, because there is all of a sudden an avalanche of legislation. An avalanche of legislation being proposed in 34 states to erect barriers and fences to democracy.
Day one was concluded by the Congressional Leadership Awards reception, where several members of Congress were recognized for their support and sponsorship with the Urban Jobs Act.
The inner cities have been left behind over the years, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done to help improve inner cities, to create jobs, to have workforce development programs, to have better housing, better opportunity. And the Urban League and other organizations like that do look out. They haven't forgotten the inner city.
This year's Congressional Black Caucus Breakfast was held at Charlie Palmer's restaurant. The prolific Emmanuel Cleaver provided many inspiring words and marching orders while delivering this year's keynote. Several attendees were presented with I Am Empowered Awards for the direct service to the urban community. This year's Empowerment Luncheon, held at the Madison Building at the Library of Congress, gave the Urban League an opportunity to celebrate its many successes. Two new lights shared their stories and how the Urban League services changed their lives. Senator Gillibrand and Kathleen Sebelius of Health and Human Services also pledged their support to fight for the rights of the underprivileged within the nation's urban areas. The 2012 State of Black America Town Hall kicked off at Howard University's Cramden Auditorium. This year featured an eclectic panel which discussed a variety of issues plaguing our urban communities.
One of the things that's working is the Urban League, okay? When you look at the work that they're doing, along with what Reverend Sharpton is doing and other, even the CBC with the voter suppression rights and bills and things like that, those things are working. What's not working is we're not coming together. We've had every movement in this country except an economic movement. And it's time for us to have an economic movement in this country.
I'm so pleased that the National Urban League has hosted this event with Howard University and released this document to talk about issues confronting our community in education, the economy, and in all aspects and sectors of society.
We had a very critical juncture in American and Black American history as far as I'm concerned. Not only do I feel we need to make sure that we protect our voting rights going forward, but we've got to deal with the issues of employment, which is what we've been talking about here in education. I mean, you're looking at someone who's raised by a single mother. I grew up on welfare, food stamps, and government cheese, so I'm one of those folks that you hear people talking about in this country, but because of educational opportunities, I'm a professional.
You know, I think this has been an incredible experience. I think we're having the opportunity to be here at the Martin Luther King Monument. And I think what's happening right now is we're galvanizing people to remember the past, but be looking forward to the future. And I think that this is what's happening at this particular LPC.
Yes, this is my first LPC, and my takeaway is sort of overwhelmed. I didn't really know what to expect when I came. I knew that, I was told that I would learn a lot of information about the National Urban League's policy agenda and sort of information on how we can help and support that on the affiliate level and the young professionals level. But what I found is that the information will be completely useful, helpful, and practical.
This is the 9th year that the National Urban League and the Urban League affiliates have come to the Capitol to push for jobs and economic opportunity, and that fight continues. So one major takeaway is, although we issue the State of Black America every year, and we come to LPC every year, the fight's not over, and so we have to continue to be vigilant and keep it up, and it's important.
Because for me, it kind of explains the advocacy arm of the Urban League movement. It shows us putting our best practices to work here in Washington, meeting with representatives, and showing them what the issues are in our local communities. And so for me, I'm empowered to go back and really get in the trenches.
I've been here every year of the 9 years that it has been in place. Always have some great takeaways from it. This year, especially, the takeaway for me was with the meetings with the departments of Labor, Health and Human Service, Education, and HUD. A little different than what we've had the first 8 LPCs, so was able to get a lot of good information. But it's always good to be able to come here, meet with your different representatives, get the different briefings that we get. The added White House tour and the Martin Luther King Monument was definitely a plus.
The Policy Institute is actually celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and it was started as the Washington Bureau of the National Urban. This year we had 2. So we originally began with a focus on education and employment, trying to connect those two to really have meaningful conversations about how we prepare today and tomorrow's workforce to succeed in a globally competitive environment. Too often the conversation about education does not have an endpoint that results in us accomplishing our goal that every American child is ready for college, work, and life. This additional piece, in response largely to the really unfortunate attack on voting rights. And so we added this focus on Occupy the Vote to really try to sound a call to arms to educate ourselves around how to be prepared to vote this year.